Alright, so this tutorial was really for my friend LRRtoonist, who actually told me that the latest version of GameMaker is for free. So yeah, I was pretty excited about this, but I decided why not just make a video for everyone to watch, and hopefully if anyone out there is interested in making games and wants to get started, then this is the tutorial for you. I noticed there's not that many tutorials out there just for beginners. They seem to be kind of complicated. So we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. And I'm no means an expert, but I will share with you the way I do things, because I do things quite differently to what others do. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to open up our GameMaker app, and thank Leslie for telling us that this version of GameMaker is free. I've dabbled with GameMaker before. I worked with it quite a bit in my spare time when I was at high school. I'm now 35, so yeah, I've had quite a bit of time with it over the years. It was just called GameMaker back then too, and then it went up to GameMaker 8, and then Studio, and then GameMaker Studio 2, and now it's just GameMaker again. So right, when you first boot up the app, you're greeted with this menu, so we're just going to create new. Okay, and now it comes up with select project type. We got live wallpaper or game. We want to create a game, obviously, so click that. Now down here we have, it says Space Rocks or Heroes Trail tutorial. It says tutorial, but these aren't tutorials as such. These are basically just pre-made games that if you feel like you want to open them up and have a look at how they've done assets and things, then yeah, you're more than welcome to tinker around with that. But for now, for the sake of the tutorial, we're just going to create a blank game. And we're going to scroll down, and here we have project name. I'm going to rename this Platformer. Okay, I'm going to go, let's go. Cool. So your setup will look different to this. I'm going to reset my layout. Yes. Okay. So yours will look like this when you first start. You've got your assets here on the right, and you've got your inspector on the left. I know this looks really creepy and really overwhelming and all that, but just bear with me. So I have my screen a little bit different to this. I actually have my assets over on the left and my inspector on the right. So I'm going to switch them around. So we're going to click the assets and drag them over to the left and dump them right next to the inspector. And now we're going to click the inspector tab and drag that all the way over to the right there. I mean, you may not want this setup. You may have been comfortable just as it is. But yeah, the reason why I have it like this is because the older versions of GameMaker actually had the assets on the left side. So yeah, OCD. Just go with whatever you're comfortable with and follow along. So here we have what looks like a photo of the Loch Ness Monster. Very murky and weird looking. And we've got a bunch of scary folders on the left. Now, don't be overwhelmed, because the ones we're really only going to be using are sprites, rooms, and objects. Now, we'll probably use sounds later on. That's where the fun stuff is. But before you get to the candy, you got to eat your vegetables, alright? Okay, and scripts I have used before, but I don't know. We'll try and keep things simple. Okay, so let's have a look at the rooms folder, shall we? Notice there's a little white Dorito next to the rooms folder. Let's click that and see what happens. Oh, it looks like GameMaker has created a room already for us. So let's double click this room here to have a look at it. Right, so this here is our room. This is where all the action is. This is where you design your level. Like, you put pieces, like objects and things in there to create a level, like your player, coins. The ground is also an object that you would put in there. So, yeah, and enemies and all that. So, yeah, at the moment it's just blank because we haven't put anything in there. So it's quite zoomed in. What we're going to do is zoom out. So you can use these buttons here on the right at the top. You've got zoom out, so you can click that to zoom out, or you can click this one here to zoom in. And this one here is supposed to be like reset zoom, but it doesn't really, it just zooms it in even more. So I don't know what's up with that, but hey, whatever. Now it's zoomed in heaps. Now, what you can also do is press and hold control with your mouse in the middle of the screen. Now, slowly move your mouse back and you will zoom out. And slowly move your mouse forward and you will zoom in. Okay, so that's pretty basic, right? Still, I would prefer the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, but hey, it is what it is. Mouse wheel, just if you scroll it upwards, it'll just scroll the screen upwards. If you scroll it down, it just scrolls it downwards. But yeah, if you click the mouse button, the middle mouse button in, or the mouse wheel I should say, and move your mouse around, it will like look around the stage, so it's quite handy. If you want to quickly like look around, and if you are zoomed in, and you just want to kind of like, yeah, see what's in that corner, then you can do that. But yeah, that's quite cool. So we're just going to click the room tab off for now. Okay, we mentioned objects before, so we actually have an objects folder here. There's no, like, see how the Dorito is just a white outline? It's not actually filled in like this one. That's because we haven't created any objects yet. So what are objects? Well, they can be anything. They can be your player, like I said. They can be a coin. They can be the ground that your player walks on. Enemies, anything. So what you'll do is you'll drag and drop these into the room once they've been created. But how do you know what they look like? Well, that's entirely up to you. That's where the Sprites folder comes in. Sprites are just images. That's all they are. There's no coding required. All the coding and stuff is really in the objects folder. That's where you do all the coding. So you've got a coin that you want to disappear when the player touches it. Then you'll do that through objects. You'll create an object called player and an object called coin, obviously. And then in the properties for the object coin, you would say when collided with player, disappear. Okay, so that's just where you do all the scary stuff. We're going to do that next tutorial. This one is going to be just about creating sprites. So yeah, like I said, how do you know what these objects look like? That's entirely up to you. Sprites is just images. So you can create a drawing of a coin and tie that to the object coin. So you can be like, okay, this image represents this object. So yeah, pretty cool. And of course you need one for your player and that too. Now, where it gets complicated is you'll need a sprite for walking right and a sprite for walking left for your player. But that's way later on. We're just going to be creating what's called collision boxes today. So that just means, what's a collision box? Well, think of Super Mario Bros, right? When Mario jumps up and hits a coin block, he will bounce back down and land on his feet. That is because, like, why doesn't his head actually go through the block? Well, that's because of the hitbox. So yeah, or collision box. So there's like an invisible box around the player that like calculates the mathematics between the top of that box and the actual coin block. So yeah, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. It does it. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So we're just going to create our first sprite. We're going to go to the sprites folder, click with the right mouse button, and go to create. And now it's popped out this scary menu. So we scroll down. The only one we really need is sprite. Alright, cool. So we've got sprite 1. This here is a pretty terrible name if you want to create a sprite for the player. So you're probably thinking, okay, I'm just going to delete this, so I'm going to write player. Well, no, because if you've got a sprite called player and an object called player, then GameMaker's not going to know what the heck you're talking about later on when you're calling a collision with player. Does it mean a collision with the sprite, or does it mean a collision with the object? It doesn't know what it means. So you need to differentiate your objects from your sprites. So before you write the name of your sprite, you want to write the letters SPR, okay? And write an underscore. Just get in the habit of doing this. It is, like I said, very important to have proper naming conventions, or else things get a bit messy. So just remember, SPR underscore for anything you put in the sprites folder. Now write player. Okay, we have down here where these 4 arrows are, the 64 by 64, that is the size of the sprite. We're not going to customize that at all for the moment. We're just going to leave it as is, because we don't want to overcomplicate it. Alright? Okay, so we've got these 2 buttons here, edit image and import. Import is if you've drawn something externally, like in Photoshop or whatever, and you want to import it in. We don't need to do that. We're just doing a hitbox, okay? We're keeping it simple. And so we're just going to go to edit image. You've also got edit image and import over here in your inspector, if you so wish to use them there. So when you click edit image, it comes up with this little stage in the middle, and it's got a whole bunch of colors on the right. Now we're going to click on a color that represents our hero. I think green is a good color. That's just my opinion. So you're probably thinking, okay, cool, I'm just going to start doodling my character. Well, no, because this is like really zoomed in. This is like 64 by 64. You can't really get detailed sprites at this size. This is just a sample I'm doing for you guys. So if you've done a crappy mess like this, hold down Control and press Z to undo that step. Now, I want you to go to where the colors chart is and scroll down, and it says Toolbox. Okay, so you've got your pen here, your eraser tool, and you've got a paint bucket here, which is like 5th in the row. So you want to click on that and just click on this little stage in the middle and fill it right in. So hold down Control and zoom out if you have to, if you want to have a decent look. So yeah, it's just a square green box. Okay, pretty simple stuff. So that is your first sprite done. That is all you need to do. So go up to the top of this tab where it says SPR player. Now I want you to click the X and get it off. Cool. So like I said, you've created your first sprite. And if you look, it's in your sprites folder. And look, the Dorito has gone white. Cool. So we're going to do this another 3 more times. So I'm going to walk you through it anyway, just in case. So click on the sprites folder with your right mouse button. Go up to create. Go to the right side where the menu is, and as you can see, go to sprite. Alright, so it says sprite 2. I'm going to highlight that and delete it. Now, what was those 3 letters I gave you? Followed by an underscore? SPR underscore, that's right. You get a chocolate fish. I'm just kidding. A gold star, okay? A metaphorical gold star. Alright, now we're going to write enemy, because we need a baddie. Alright, so we're going to leave it at 64 by 64. I'm going to go to edit image. Select an enemy color. Red, preferably. Now scroll down where the colors are. Where it says toolbox, go to the fill bucket. Go to the stage. Fill her in. Now zoom out. There you are. Done. That's enemy done. So go up to the enemy tab that we just made, sprite enemy tab, and then just click it off. Now we've got 2 sprites in our sprites folder. Cool. Now click with the right mouse button on the sprites folder again. Go up to create. Go across and down to sprite. Click on it. Sprite 3. Alright, we're going to call this one SPR underscore ground. Okay. Now we're going to leave it at 64 by 64, just like the enemy sprite. That's 64 by 64. The player sprite is 64 by 64. These are all the same size. Okay. Right. So we have to. No. So I'll just double click the ground SPR ground again. Okay, so we're in our sprite for ground. Go to edit image. We're going to choose the color black. Okay. Scroll down with the mouse wheel. Go to the fill tool. Fill it in. And there you have it. We've created the ground sprite. Now click the X off where it says SPR ground. And now we have 3 sprites. Yay! Alright, we're just going to look at our room real quick. And we might have a bit of a problem here. Because we just created the ground sprite as the color black. Now the background color of the room is black. So you're not going to see the ground sprite at all. Now you could change the color of the ground sprite if you really wanted to. But the whole purpose of me walking you through this is to tell you how to change the background color. So, I'm going to teach you how to do that. First thing we're going to do is go to the Sprites folder. Click with the right mouse button. And then click Create. And then go to Sprite. Okay. And we're going to call this one... We're not even going to put SPR at the front of it because it's a background, okay? So just write background 0, 0, 1. Alright? You could write SPR background if you wanted to. I suppose it wouldn't do any harm. Because it is a sprite after all. Okay. So, we need to know the size. We can't just keep it at 64 by 64. Because the size of the room is much bigger, isn't it? So, we need to double click our room again. Down here. Okay. The width is 1366 by height 768. Righto, so we need to customize our background sprite here to that width and that height. So 1366 by 768. Okay, to do this, you need to go to your ground sprite. Your background sprite. And now click the 4 arrows. And it's here that you change it. These are just the current size in the preview. So it's here where you change it. So go to width and change it to 1366. Okay? Now click on the height. Uh-oh, look. The height has turned to 1366. That's not ideal. That's not what we want. It's done it automatically. That's because we've got maintain aspect ratio on. This will automatically keep the width or the height depending on the one you don't change. This will change it to exactly the same as the other one. So we don't want that. Uncheck this. Now, do you remember the height? Was it 768? I'm just going to make sure of that. Yeah, it was 768. I got a good memory. Cool. So now click apply. Awesome. So this is the sprite here for it. We'll zoom out a bit. Whoop, zoomed out a bit too much. So it's quite huge. Now we're going to go to edit image. We're going to pick a background color. I'm just going to choose gray because that's a happy color. And now we're going to go to the fill tool and yep, that's right. You guessed it. Fill it in. Okay, zoom out. Alright. Now we've got the background sprite done. We're going to click the X next to it. That is cool. We're going to go back into our room. And look, it's still black. That's not what we want, is it? Now, to put your background sprite that you've just made as a background, what you have to do is, when you click on your background, you've got these on the left side. You've got instances and background. Okay, instances is what you have selected if you want to drag and drop objects into the room. We don't have any objects yet, but we do have this cool sprite that we just made of a really interesting grey background. So we're going to click background, and we're going to, so make sure background is highlighted, or else this won't work. Now drag the sprite background over to the room and just dunk it in there. So now it's done. You've just created the background for your room. That's really cool. And now we've got the sprites for player, ground, and enemy. Okay, so that is all we'll do for this tutorial. Next up, we're going to be doing the more scary stuff, the objects. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And yeah, I hope this is kind of giving you some kind of insight on what to do. See you in the next one.